Chapter 48, Loving You. Back at Bryn Mawr, I'm racing to finish my senior thesis, determined to do it quickly and well. Tilly is supposed to be working too, but she's distracted. Buddy comes down to visit us so often that their constant antics are beginning to get on my nerves. More than once, I slip a noise complaint under her door in the form of terse, furious little notes. She ignores them. I want to do well. I've worked at this for nearly 4 years, and now I'm so close to the finish line I can almost taste it. If I sprint, I might just make it. My thesis is about colonialism, which makes Tilly chuckle. Of course it is, she says, shaking her head. Colonialism in art, with an emphasis on the Americas. I'm still revising, but it's going well. Tilly suggests I ought to write about my own colonization of the Americas and rolls her eyes as she leaves my room. I throw a book at the door just as it slams. Less aggression toward the savage from your ladyship, she calls from the corridor. The boy wants me to come visit him on the set of Loving You, but I tell him it'll have to wait until after graduation. I simply can't make time for anything else right now. He sends me silly postcards from out west in February. Postcard 1, baby doll. It's your fat baby. I lost the weight. Don't ask me how. Mama and Daddy were here. They send their love. They're in the movie. Love crazy. P.S. They colored my hair brown. Everybody loves it. You probably won't. Postcard 2, Honeybee. How am I supposed to record a song called Loving You when you're so far away? Tell me, how? Yours, Deke Rivers. P.S. I'm dating like it's going out of style. Letter from Memphis, March, to my highfalutin smarty pants. I put a formal offer on the house we saw. We'll live there till we're old and gray and got nothing left but rotten teeth and wild grandkids. I'll be known as 1 ton by then. In other news, I'm back to being fat again. Damnation. Will you still love me when I'm a 300-pound baby? Come home for Easter, will ya? I need you to put me through your exercise routine. Yours, E. During a few days off, I visit Topper and Cornelia. Cornelia has broken up with Artie. She's heartbroken, but recovering. First love, she sighs. It's a tough one, I say. She wouldn't convert to Judaism, and he wasn't allowed to continue unless she promised to do so if they moved toward engagement. Cornelia says she loved him, but that it wasn't a hard decision. No one tells me what to do, and that's just a ridiculous ask. She rolls her eyes. He could have converted to Christianity. Why didn't he? I wonder aloud why people who aren't particularly religious care so much about these differences. Cornelia agrees. But really, how are you doing? Will you be okay? I ask her. Cornelia sniggers. Listen, Birdie, I'll be fine. I'm not that picky. I'll find a replacement soon enough. She gestures at herself. Look at me. I'm gorgeous. The men will come flocking. Just you wait. I tell her I'm certain she's right. Topper is finishing his degree as well. When I mention I'm heading south for Easter, he says he thinks it's a splendid idea. I ask if he'd like to come along as my date for Mabel's Easter nuptials, but he wonders if it's all right if he doesn't. I assure him it'll probably be dreadfully dull anyway. When I speak to the boy on the phone, he sounds tired and worn out, irritable, even rude at times, which is new. I start calling him the Prince of Darkness when he's offhand with me, and he does not like that one bit. But the truth is, he is changing. Not in a profound way, he's still the boy, but as fame envelops him, it has begun to go to his head. Not heavily, not even as much as one would expect. But he's finished running after me. He no longer needs me in the same way. Because I've been living a life outside our bubble for longer, I understand. When your world expands, the need for one person becomes less acute. There are others, and more to think about. The soul who once felt central may still be just as important, but you begin to forget how important as life fills up with other colors and shapes. I finished my thesis and handed in early. I'm content with the result. Tilly says it's very good and assures me I'll get top marks. I'm discovering how quickly I can work when I must, and how focused I am when the topic genuinely matters to me. At last, I get a well-deserved break. Topper and I head to Palm Springs for a week of rest and reward for our hard work. We catch the spring sun and enjoy the warmth. We spend time at Rancho Mirage with Mr. S, and I find myself worrying about his new relationship with MS Bacall, because honestly, I think he could do better. There's something about her I can't quite place, but I don't say a word. Carrie comes out for the day and takes me to dinner. "The boy is right, you know," he says over cocktails. "You ought to think about your prospects. Marriage will legitimize your place in the world." "But I'm an independent woman of means," I reply. "Of course you are, dear girl," he says. "But you'll be looked at as a harlot here if you don't become an honest woman soon." He laughs, but he means it. I scowl. "Baby, you must think about the future." "Why aren't you?" He rests his head in his hand, still smiling. "I don't know," I say. "It must be my modern European ways." I shrug. Carrie takes my hand and squeezes it. "You're one of us," he says. "You have an artist's soul," he continues, winking. "But I can only protect you from the gossip mongers so far, you hear?" We both grin. I can't bring shame on Grandpa George this way, I think to myself. I have to find a solution. "How's the boy, by the way?" Carrie asks. I'm intrigued by him and by why you two are so connected. "It's a kind of love, I suppose," I say. I tell him what the boy's been up to, filming, recording, living it up in Los Angeles. "Yes, of course," Carrie says. "I remember those days. They're magical. Until they're not." A shadow crosses his face. "And you? You finished your thesis?" "I did," I say. "It's good," I add. "You are a special girl," Carrie says, driving me back. He takes my hand again in the car. "Effortlessly complete and otherworldly beautiful," he says, then gets out, opens my door, and walks me to the entrance. "Don't ever lose yourself." He kisses my cheek before rushing back to the car. He smells as you'd expect, vanilla, smoke, and stylish perfection. "I hope to see you again soon," he calls. I blow him a kiss, which he catches. "Thank you." "Ditto," I say. I watch him disappear into the sunset and realize how much I love looking at him. He's the most stylish man I've ever known. I've been trying to dress the boy like him since 1948, but the boy is his own person with his own style. Chapter 49. Love and Marriage. Topper and I return to the house from dinner in Palm Springs. Mr. S. and Miss Bacall have walked ahead of us and are already inside, deep in conversation. When Mr. S. finds me alone by the pool, he hands me a drink and settles beside me. "You know, baby, Carrie was right," he says. "It's time you thought about the future. There's only so far I can protect you." I frown. "You sound just like him. I thought you both liked me best unmarried." He smirks, swirling the ice in his glass. "I do, baby. But you and I both know the world's not as modern as you'd like. Sometimes you just gotta play the game." "About Topper?" he asks. "He's a fine man. I think you should marry him. He loves you, and he respects you. He'll give you enough space to still thrive. It is definitely not the worst curse that could befall me." "You thinking about the boy?" the chairman asks gently. I don't answer. Mr. S. shrugs. "The boy's too big for his own life, baby. He's got a piece of the world in his hands. You can't hold on to a man like that." "He's no bigger than you," I counter. "I reckon he might end up bigger than Jesus," he says, crossing himself for effect, and we both laugh. He pats my cheek, finishes his drink, and stands. Let's head inside before someone gets the wrong idea. I guffaw, take his arm, and walk back to the house. Inside, Topper is waiting by the piano. The air is golden, warm from the music and laughter. Mr. S. calls for another drink, 3 rocks, 2 fingers of Jack, splash of water. Then Topper calls my name. He's holding a small navy blue box. "Catch!" he says. I catch it, heart in my throat. Inside is a ring. He tells me he's been carrying it around for over a year. Then he's down on one knee, looking up at me, putting me on a pedestal. There's no one else. There'll never be anyone else. Please, will you do me the honor of being my wife? Mr. S. settles at the piano next to Miss Bacall, who is already playing, and he begins singing Love and Marriage in his smoky baritone, breaking the tension. I say yes, because I do love Topper, in the right way, because everyone wants me to get married, because the room is golden and full of music, because in that moment, it feels as if the story is writing itself. And what's the worst that could happen? The ring is beautiful. I only properly notice it the next morning, catching the sunlight from the bedside table. I wonder what I'll tell the boy and when. But for now, I'm making eggs for my fiancé, and Mr. S. has sent me more flowers than is sensible. And it's some kind of wonderful. The boy calls to complain about the new gold lame suit the colonel insists he wear on tour. It makes me look like a fat clown, he grumbles. Ain't no way you can come and hold my hand, is there? I tell him I can't, and I tell him why. He does not congratulate me. A few days later, he's accused of pulling a gun on a soldier outside the Hotel Chiska. It turns out to be a toy gun, but still. He finalizes the purchase of Miss Moore's house. He hires an interior designer who isn't me, because I won't have time now, not with finishing my degree, not with being engaged to someone else. He's off to Chicago and furious with me. He yells down the phone that I've betrayed him, that he has no use for me anymore, that all he ever asked was for me to wait. That's not true, I say quietly. Even if he tries to convince me, it is. I'm back at Bryn Mawr when the package arrives in early April. It's from the boy. He's sending me his latest discs and tickets for his shows in Philadelphia. Tilly shakes her head. Now this again? We have to go, I tell her. I'm afraid I'm taking your choice in the matter out of the equation. In a roundabout way, he's your friend too. She sighs. I suppose. Will you come and meet me? He writes. Can I come to your place and talk? I telegram back. Of course. The boy arrives in the afternoon before his first show in Philadelphia. He calls to ask if we can talk, if we can be alone. He arrives incognito. I'm impressed. He's so famous now, it's nearly impossible for him to move without being chased. I let him in quickly and assure him Tilly has gone to the library. I hug him. He starts to cry, trembling, so I take his hand and lead him into my room. Sit down here, I tell him, helping him into a chair. He notices the diamond and stares at it with a snarl. I pull my hand back and sit down beside him. We don't talk for a while. He stopped crying, but his jaw is locked. That was quick, he says at last, his voice clipped. I say nothing. I look to the floor and wish the ground would swallow me. If it's any consolation, I begin, knowing I should stop, but I don't. He'd been carrying it around for a year. My voice is barely a whisper. Part of me hopes he didn't hear. I see, he says. I try to meet his eyes, but he looks out the window. A long silence. Then everything's fallen apart because of you. His stare is cold, cruel. How can everything be falling apart because of me? He's going from strength to strength. I kneel in front of him and reach for his hands, searching his face. He pushes my hands away. I want my ring back, he says. You can't be engaged to two people at once. He nearly spits the words. Engaged to two people? I'm bewildered. I want my ring back, is all, he snaps, his voice cracking. I'm not even sure which ring he means. He's given me so many versions of the horseshoe ring. I'm sorry, I say, pulling the ring from the chain around my neck. This one? He nods, then waves a hand as if dismissing me entirely. He turns away from me. If I'd known it was an engagement ring, I'd clearly never have accepted Topper, I say, offering it to him. Don't martyr yourself on me. Annoyance rises in my chest. Mabel told me about your teenage harem at home. Instantly, I know I shouldn't have said it. What? He sits up, finally meeting my eyes. Who? I cross my arms. The 3 schoolgirls in Memphis, I say. Heidi, Frances, and Gloria. I walk to my desk, sit, and swivel the chair away from him. Outside, a bird watches me from the tree. Ah, he says. So now you've made a criminal of me, though I've committed no crime. He stands and heads for the door, but stops with his hand on the handle. He turns, sits back down on the bed, grabs a pillow, presses it to his face, and screams into it. I burst out laughing. At first he looks annoyed, but then he laughs too. The energy in the room shifts. Honey, I say, raising an eyebrow, you're the one who told me to marry this man. He nods and lies back. I know, he says. It's the right thing to do, as things are now. He gestures for me to come over. Don't mean it don't break my heart, though, he says. What can I say? I boogie-woogie over to the bed. I'm a heartbreaker sort of vixen. He laughs as I flick my hair and sit beside him. We sit in silence. I'm not giving you your ring back, I say. That's fine, he replies. I'm still going to wear it, I add. He pulls me down beside him. We got booed in Canada, he says. Feels like everything's fallen apart. I brush a lock of hair from his forehead. Tell me everything, I say. He pours it all out in one long monologue, saying that if he weren't so unhappy, he might even be happy for me, but he reserves the right to hate me a little. That's okay, I say, and tell him we'll always have Paris. We laugh, curl up together, and pretend we're back in the old days before the madness, before we grew up and got tangled in responsibility and convention. For a moment, we wish our lives were different, though we both know how lucky we are. Beneath it all, we know that if there were real will, there'd be a way, but we don't need to restrict each other. It's bigger than being an item or a promise of a future. We knew each other before all this, before this life, and we'll know each other after it, when the dust settles. Chapter 50, Poison Ivy League. The boy is nervous about going on. The venue is only half full in Philadelphia. The Northeast hasn't been won over by him, and it stands in stark contrast to the rest of the country. I feel almost embarrassed on behalf of Pennsylvania and all these places where I spent so many of my formative years. It's as if, how dare they, in my mind. Before the first show, he's interviewed by some insufferably arrogant high school reporters, whom I eventually have to ask to leave because I can't bear their rudeness to my wonderful boy, who always tries so hard and is polite to everyone. He's unsettled after the second show that evening and just wants to go home, but there are still 2 more shows at the sports arena, one in the afternoon and one in the evening, and he's obliged to carry on. During the evening show, a group of dreadful students, self-righteous, arrogant, and privileged in the worst way, throw eggs at him on stage. The eggs don't hit him, but they strike his guitar, and I can see how mortified and affected he is by the aggression. I immediately report them to the guards, and they're escorted out. I'm so filled with the need to rescue him that I'm seething, and Tilly has to calm me down. She calls me Attila the Hun and says I need to tone down my anger, that it's unbecoming for a young lady. Tilly excuses herself before the show is over, and I go backstage to meet him as soon as he comes off. He asks if I can please come home with him. I tell him I can't just gallivant off in whatever direction the wind blows us. I have responsibilities now. But I do go with him to the station, and we sit in silence in the car, holding hands. When I walk him to the train, he turns and tells me I don't need to come home for Easter. He'll be all right without me. I hadn't expected that, and I start to cry. He's surprised by that. So there we are, with 10 minutes to spare, and it feels as if we're the 2 loneliest people in the world, holding each other until he kisses me goodbye and waves from the carriage as it pulls away. "Fuck Philadelphia!" he shouts out of the carriage door, waving with defiance before he disappears. I telephone Tilly from the station and ask her to pick me up and drive me home. It's late, and I'm suddenly all alone. "You're coming to New York with me for Easter," she tells me, lighting a cigarette in the car. "You call Miss Mary and tell her she has Easter off. She can visit her family in Arkansas." She glances at me and squeezes my shoulder before shifting gears and swinging into the parking lot in front of our building. "But," I say, "Mabel and Bingham are getting married at Easter back home." Tilly shrugs. "Back home?" She raises an eyebrow. "Your home is here, baby. You're one of us. You don't belong down south. You belong with us up here." I shake my head and tell her I don't belong anywhere.